I'm just going to run you through a few questions today, and I just want to get as much knowledge out there for the kids.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Can't wait.
Perfect. Just start us off with your whole career, like from start to the end, and just kind of give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah, so I would say when I was younger, I was always one of the smaller kids on my team, but I really enjoyed the game. And for the longest time, I was kind of like always one of the worst players as well as being the smallest. And I knew something had to change. So what happened was took a look in the mirror and I was like, all right, if I'm going to keep up, I got to be more skillful. So
Yep.
when I was really young, I was very focused on the skill aspect of the game. So whether that was fielding, hitting, or pitching, I was very locked in on trying to do the fundamentals as good as I possibly could. And then as I got older, obviously growing and everything, that got a little bit easier to do. I would say Little League was a lot of fun. I had a lot of success in my Little League career. And then once I got to the big field, I started to take off as a pitcher more so than hitting and fielding because kids were hitting rockets and I like wanted no part of it at third base. And on the mound, I would probably throw like I don't know. At 13, I was probably throwing like 55, 60 mile an hour fastballs
Yep.
because I was like 4 foot 10, somewhere in that range. But I'd always had a really good curveball. I'd been throwing it since I was like 9 years old, and when I threw it, it was like it was like a gravity ball. I mean, it was probably 45 miles an hour, and everyone would just like duck out of the way of it. But it was so effective, and I really started to get a love for pitching at that time. Obviously, I didn't have the size to match or the power or the ability yet, but it was sort of that was sort of my tipping point with pitching, and I knew if I was going to go far in the game, it was going to be pitching. So from there, I started to get a little more focused on weightlifting, and I started weightlifting at about 12, but that was sort of after that season, I started to focus a little more on the pitching part of it and tailoring everything towards pitching. So from there, I started to lift weights, really heavy weights, and pushing the stimulus every single week, trying to challenge myself with new levels of weights or reps or increasing the levels of amount of sets that I would do. And from there, it was I would say from 13 to 16, I saw like very minimal progress because I hadn't grown yet. And it was almost like when you invest in a stock and 3 years nothing happens, and then all of a sudden everything skyrockets.
Yeah.
So from that time span, I would say like the average kid is pretty much where my velocity would be. Where I would say in terms of command and all that stuff, I was very good at that part. So that would allow me to be at the higher levels of like competition, and I'd be like the guy pitching in the big game and stuff like that. But the velocity wasn't there. So once I hit 16 and I started to grow a little bit, that's when the velocity started to kick in. I went from 75 at 15 to then throwing 85 at 16.
Wow.
And I wouldn't say there was anything too drastic that I did different. It was just I continued doing the same thing, and now my body was starting to grow with the strength that I'd been trying to develop that whole time. So from there, um, yeah, it was just like a quick jump to 85. Year after that, I had another big jump from 85 to 91, and then jump from 91 to 95 the year after that. So senior year of high school, I was already committed to Division One and had hit 95 before I got to school. Got to school, felt super confident, did really well in the fall of my freshman year, and then the wheels kind of fell off the bus after the winter that year. I got injured with thoracic outlet syndrome.
Here's a picture of Joey's injury. It's where the muscles and the bones pinch the nerves.
And basically it's like a pinched nerve is the
Yeah.
simple term that I like to use. And pretty much I couldn't feel the ball in my hand. And my best analogy is it feels like a ball is soaking wet in your hand, or you're trying to throw a ball of ice. Like you just can't feel the ball. And for a lot of that time, another thing to add on to that, it's common in baseball pitchers and swimmers. and I was a competitive swimmer my whole time going up through high school.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you
So
about that.
yeah, so it was kind of like the recipe for disaster in terms of getting that
Yeah.
injury, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And yeah, so I got that, and at the time that I got it, I didn't know that that was even really a thing. So everyone around me is like, "Why is your command so bad?" Yada
Yeah.
yada yada. And to this point, I've never had command issues in my entire life. I'd always thrown strikes. I'd always been the strike thrower on the team, and everyone sort of was around me telling me, "Well, if it doesn't seem like it's something physical, it has to be mental." Because I was kind of in denial of it could be a physical issue. I was
Yeah.
sort of bullheaded in that regard. So that sort of is where the yips came in. Everyone around me is telling me it's mental, so I'm doing homework on, oh, what can I do to fix the mental part? And then by opening that realm of like thinking about it, made me think about it when I throw. And then I was yipped up for like 2 years, dreaded going to the baseball field because I was nervous to even play catch. Got that under control over the last 2 years. Still injured with thoracic outlet syndrome, so I can't really compete as much as I wanted to. But in that time, I sort of started doing content because I started to fall in love with video editing when I was younger. And I figured I should use that talent a little more than I had been to that point. So I sort of tried to document my comeback. It's fallen short a little bit here, but I'm still hopeful one day maybe I can get a pro opportunity, and hopefully once my injury is a little bit more under control, I can get there. So that's sort of my story and why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've really made an impact in a lot of people's lives. I know I found you about 9 months ago in the winter there, and it was really inspiring seeing you even out there playing like on the mound in the winter, throwing balls. And it's like I live up here in Canada, so 5 6 months of the year are snowy, and
Exactly.
it got me out there, and I was throwing, playing around, and then I had my season. I sadly did get injured. I tore my knee up, and that was it for the season. But we're working back. I'm excited to come back for hopefully October. And I'm just like you, a pitcher, and you've been really helping me. And I thought talking with you and helping others is the best way to do it.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to be here. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, do you think the swimming when you were younger really helped you anyway with velocity or anything like that? Because I know I personally like swimming. It's just fun for me. We have a pool in the backyard, and I'll do laps here and there, and it's just fun. Do you think it really benefited you to swim, or more kind of just for fun?
So my dad was a swimmer, and basically he got me into it just to learn how to swim.
Yeah,
Like he didn't expect much out of it. He just wanted me to be on the swim team for like a year or two just so I knew how to swim, and we like to fish a lot and just so I could be safe, right?
yep,
But when I started competing, like I was just doing really, really well. Like I was very naturally gifted at it. So at that point, I sort of just ran with it. And I know I'm not exactly the tallest guy in the world. So I was like, well, that takes basketball out of the equation. So I guess I'll swim in the winters. And I did it the whole way up. I don't know if it hurt or helped, but I would say in terms of the mental aspect, it definitely helped because the work ethic it taught me because like I don't think there's anything you do in baseball that is as hard as what you do in a swimming pool 6 days out of the week.
yeah,
Like the practices are tough, and I only did like half of it. But I mean, if I was to swim in college, it'd be two a day every day, and I was doing some two a days where you go like 6 a.m. and then in the evenings. But
wow,
it's just you learn a lot about yourself swimming in that pool and looking at the tiles on the bottom of the pool for 2 hours straight while you're suffering in pain from all the work you're doing.
yeah.
So I would say baseball is not comparable to that in terms of training, but it's a totally different type of game. So
When you were that 16 to 18 kind of jumping velo there, it really shows that even if you're a little short, like 5'9", 5'10", you can still get that velocity. How do you think you got that velocity? Is it just pure weight room, or is it mechanics?
It's definitely both, and I think I'm definitely a little bit gifted as well. I
Yeah,
think God gave me a gift of being able to throw pretty hard because, as far as I can look back, I was playing third base. So I would imagine they didn't just put me there by accident, and I must have had a decent arm compared to the my peers. But it just never really like clicked until I got older.
for
I
sure.
would I would say the weight room was huge for me specifically because I was more on like the scrawny side when I was young. But I think mechanics are king in general, just simply because if you don't like you can be as strong like if it was all about strength, then world's strongest men would be the fastest throwing pitchers in the world.
Yeah,
But since it's just it's so intricate on what you need to do because you need to be powerful in certain positions, and how fast you get in and out of those positions is what determines how fast you throw the ball. So
yeah,
like how fast you can rotate your hip and rotate it fully through, how fast you can get in and out of your deep scap load with your back arm. It's just, I would say those two things are key. And the power output is always going to be more important than the strength or just all of that.
yeah. I know I've been struggling personally with a lot of speed and just getting into proper positions when pitching. Partially to the knee, but also just because I'm a bigger dude. I've been, always a big guy. I've been cutting weight, trying to get into that, good body space so I can throw harder. But I'm kind of just stuck at that 82, 83, and I'm still young. I got lots of time, but
Yeah,
we keep working away. And yeah, getting in those positions, I do think is very important.
absolutely.
Um, how was your college career? Would you say the atmosphere is really fun to play in? Are you happy you went D1 right away?
So I would say, given the scenario I was in prior to getting hurt, yes, I think it was a great decision. I was confident I was going to do really well and succeed. But I would say for the average kid, it's really not a bad thing at all to go JUCO, D2, D3, especially with the scope of how the game is at the moment. A lot's changed since I got into college, and the way that they've changed it with the scholarships now, the portal, I think it's almost smarter to go to one of those smaller schools so that you're getting those opportunities and then you can transfer up because now there's an unlimited transfer rule too.
Yep.
So it's like you could go to a different school every single year if you really wanted to. And if you're doing better each year, it's almost like a farm system at this point.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost more advantageous to not start at the top level because you're going to kind of screw yourself in a sense because you're most likely going to be limited in reps that you get. And then it's almost, yeah, it's sort of just like how high school works where you have like JV, varsity.
Yeah.
You use that lower level as a JV team for a couple of years and then go up to that varsity and be dominant. So it's sort of
Playing time is key.
exactly
Yeah.
playing time is always key.
Yeah. Really get those reps in. Um, how I was looking through your social medias and I saw, 1,000+ videos here, 1,000+ videos there. And it's just, that's insane to me looking at how many videos you posted and how many followers you have. It's just really impressive. What made you like want to post all this different stuff for helping athletes?
I feel like it's an obligation, and if I was gatekeeping all of that information, it wouldn't be worthwhile because I feel like although I have fallen short so far in my baseball career of what had wanted to do in terms of playing major leagues and all that, um, my mindset sort of shifted in that time where now I would like to help as many people as I possibly can get to the major leagues, even if that means I can't. So I feel like it's partially helping with that. And then also, I want to stay in baseball as much as I possibly can. So it gives me an outlet to do so.
Well, it looks like you're really on the right path. I see you have the Unleash Greatness on your Instagram, signing kids up to help for personal training and stuff like that.
Yep.
What does that include?
Yeah. So it's not officially out at the moment yet. It's going to be coming within a month or so.
Awesome.
I gotta do a couple more things behind the scenes to make sure it's all set up. But it's basically going to be remote training for the people that aren't in my area so that I can still help as many kids as possible. And it'll be working through figuring out their pitching mechanic deficiencies, giving them scripted weightlifting programs, as well as pretty much being like a resource for them. I want to be able to, I'm going to keep it very select. I want to keep it like 20 to 30 guys at most. And I want to be able to be like a mentor for them as best I possibly can. It's much more quality over just sending people a PDF and calling it a day. I kind of want to keep it in that sort of quality over quantity approach and really make a serious impact on a select groups' lives in general.
That's awesome. I saw you had merch as well. Is that just to help fund stuff and get stuff going?
Just sort of brand awareness. I haven't really pushed it too hard, and it was sort of more just experimenting,
Nice. I really appreciate you coming on. I was personally really nervous for this. I know a lot of kids look up to you.
You did
and
great.
I'm one of them, and I just like to say thank you so much. And yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. It was a great conversation.
Thank you. You have a good one.
You too.